Story 1. Prenatal vitamins. Originally, I took prenatal vitamins to help with hair loss caused by another medication. They make my skin, hair, and nails look amazing, and I feel like I have more energy. I have been taking prenatal vitamins for about 4 months. Story 2. Magnesium changed my whole mood. I feel less anxious, sleep more deeply, and no longer cry when my charger falls behind the nightstand. Story 3. I sleep better and am less stressed when I take vitamin D and magnesium. I am actually deficient, though. I am not sure everyone would have the same benefit. Sometimes I also take B vitamins. Story 4. Besides vitamin D3, vitamins did nothing for me. Fiber supplements, however, were an unexpected life changer. Story 5. Vitamin D supplements might have saved my life. I struggled with depression for most of my adult life to the degree that I was having suicidal thoughts almost daily. I finally saw a doctor after years of not being able to afford it and not having insurance. After testing, it turned out that my vitamin D levels were nearly zero. A combination of diet and lack of sunlight, as I am a redhead and avoid sunlight as much as I reasonably can since we are prone to skin cancer, were to blame. It was suggested I start a supplement, and within a week it was almost like stepping out of a fog bank. I felt genuinely good for the first time in decades. The depression shrank to something entirely manageable after years of it looming over me day in and day out. Within a month it was nearly gone. I still have infrequent bouts, but they are nowhere near what they used to be. I have continued my vitamin D regimen and added vitamin B12 and vitamin C to cover other bases, and it has made my life infinitely better. Story 6. I am a 75-year-old male. I have been taking a daily multivitamin for over 30 years at the suggestion of a doctor I trusted and respected. He told me I was unlikely to feel any different and expected no miracles from it. It does not work like that. As he said, it was insurance and would not hurt. If I was short on something due to eating habits or other factors, it might help. He explained that many symptoms of vitamin or mineral deficiency tend to develop gradually, and by the time you notice a problem, it can be quite serious. Since I have not stopped taking the multivitamin, I would not know if I would feel any different without it. At 75, I have enough problems. I will keep taking my one-a-day pill. Story 7. The reason many people mention vitamin D, magnesium, and fiber is that these are the 3 most common nutrients people struggle to get through diet. Vitamin D is extremely hard to obtain from diet alone, and most people have low levels during winter in northern climates. Magnesium levels in soil are being depleted, and studies consistently show that about 70% of Americans do not get enough. Fiber deficiency is mostly due to a Western diet that is not plant-forward. Supplements can help but should never replace real food. Story 8. I became clinically depressed and went to see my physician. The first thing he did was check my vitamin levels. It turned out that my vitamin D levels were very low, so I was prescribed prescription-strength vitamin D pills. This resolved my depression in about a month. Now I take a daily vitamin D pill during autumn, winter, and early spring because I have darker skin. I no longer experience winter depression or unexplained joint aches and pains. People with darker skin need more vitamin D when living in a non-tropical country because they do not get enough vitamin D from sunlight. I live in Denmark. Story 9. I started taking vitamin B12 supplements at the doctor's recommendation because I always felt tired, even when getting enough sleep, and they helped. It was not a massive transformation, but I did find that I felt somewhat better after taking them. Story 10. Yes, vitamin B12 drops actually helped with my depression, and vitamin D together with hair vitamins helped me go from catching a cold about 5 times a year to maybe once or twice a year. I would say go for it and stick with it. You will notice the difference. Story 11. 5,000 units of vitamin D a day fixed my leg cramps, and I can tell the difference within 3 days if I stop taking it. Story 12. I am in perimenopause, which can cause vitamin D to drop, so I take that. Magnesium and potassium stopped my night sweats and hot flashes. Story 13. My mood improved with vitamin D, and I feel more relaxed and mentally balanced when I take magnesium as well. Please check with your healthcare provider, as you can overdose on vitamins and experience serious consequences. My blood work was okay before I took the vitamins, but I suspect the levels were on the lower end of the normal spectrum. I just feel better with a small boost. Story 14. Multivitamins are generally not necessary, but specific supplements can be beneficial. Fish oil, vitamin D, and magnesium are the most common supplements needed by people in Western countries. Fish oil is not required if your diet already contains a lot of seafood, as you are getting enough omega-3 naturally. If you dislike fish and seafood, then taking fish oil is advisable. Magnesium helps with sleep and muscle recovery after workouts. Vitamin D is important because most people spend a lot of time indoors and do not get enough sunlight. If you work outside all day, vitamin D supplementation may not be necessary. Most other multivitamins contain unnecessary components or potentially harmful amounts of vitamins. For example, in Australia, vitamin B6 toxicity is a real concern. The body only needs 2 milligrams per day, which is typically met through diet, but multivitamins often contain 50 to 100 milligrams per dose. Story 15. My back tingles when I miss vitamin B12 for a while, and I get very depressed if I stop taking vitamin D. Both deficiencies were diagnosed by doctors. Story 16. My wife suggested adding iron to my regimen because she read that it can help with certain issues I struggle with, such as mood and energy. You know what happens when you take iron but do not have an iron deficiency? You get blood in your stool. That was a very embarrassing doctor visit. Story 17. Sometimes I take a multivitamin, and I have always felt like I had more energy, typically feeling less sluggish in general. Some days I don't even need the energy drink I usually get, or I get a smaller one. However, for a long time I had a problem where every 3 to 4 days I would feel nauseous when taking my one-a-day multivitamin. Sometimes I took it with food, sometimes without, around the same time each day. Then I would need to stop taking it for a couple of days. I managed by taking one every other day or only when I worked, depending on my schedule. It turns out I was overeating in general, and something in the multivitamin mixed with my diet was giving me too much, causing my body to have difficulty processing it all. When I started restricting my calories, eating less allowed me to take my multivitamins daily. This compounded the benefits, making me feel better from not overeating as much. In summary, my multivitamin helped me gain energy I was lacking while also encouraging me to take steps to eat healthier. Story 18. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome in February by a really great gynecologist. She recommended inositol and said she normally does not recommend supplements, but the college had done a number of trials with it and had great results. She said she likes patients to try it before a prescription, which may have harsh side effects. This treatment has been absolutely life-changing. I feel much more balanced, I have more energy, I have lost weight, and I am just happier overall. I have actually recommended it to a couple of friends who do not have polycystic ovary syndrome, and they are having great results as well. It is not for everyone, but I do think that more women should know about it. Story 19. Vitamin B6. I don't drink coffee, but I still want caffeine. Years ago, I started drinking 5-Hour Energy to get my caffeine intake. 5-Hour Energy claims to have over 2,000% of your daily value in it. This is probably fine occasionally, but daily use for a long time causes major problems. I started having neuropathy or numbness in my toes until I told my doctor during a routine physical. Blood work showed I had extremely high levels of vitamin B6. It took a few months of avoiding excess vitamin B6 before I regained feeling in my toes. Vitamin B6 toxicity can eventually cause numbness in other extremities as well. I'm glad I addressed it before permanent damage occurred. Also, I experienced eye twitching caused by a lack of magnesium, so that is another issue to be aware of. Story 20. I take magnesium regularly. I originally started taking it for my hypnic jerks, which are those jerks you get as you fall asleep, but mine were full body. It also fixed my eye twitch and eliminated my insatiable craving for chocolate. I know I'm running low when all I want is chocolate, which would have been helpful to know as a teenager. I also started taking one Fairlife 30-gram protein shake a day. I mix it with cold brew coffee. I wanted to get some extra protein in my diet, and my sleep has become fantastic. I take a daily multivitamin as well, but I don't know that I notice any effects from it. Story 21. Taking a multivitamin is not really necessary. Taking extra zinc as a male? Holy moly. Sounds like I should try taking magnesium too. Story 22. I have the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase mutation, which means I do not methylate properly. Methylation is an important step in converting vitamins such as vitamin B12 and folate into forms the body can use. I can definitely tell when I am taking the proper version for me, which are methylated versions. I started taking selenium and zinc at the same time and experienced a positive mood boost within a couple of days. This could be psychosomatic, but I am happy with the result. Regarding fish oil, I do not notice its effects until a few months after I stop taking it, when I wonder why everything feels harder. Fiber improves digestion and makes everything better. I have spent a lot of time working with my general practitioner and psychiatrist to get things in working order. Some vitamins did not help while others did. I believe it is always best to have the input of your general practitioner and to make changes slowly and iteratively. For example, I should have started zinc and selenium at different times, since now I do not know which is responsible for the benefit. Could be both. Story 23. I take coenzyme Q10, and it has made a difference in many of my aging-related issues. A strong heart, reasonably flexible joints, and fairly good skin despite a lifetime of sun exposure. The science behind a coenzyme Q10 supplement is logical. Coenzyme Q10 is present in every cell of the human body. But as we age, production slows, and that slowdown can cause the breakdown of nerve sheaths, connective tissue, and muscles. If I run out, I can feel the deficit in about 5 days, and I do not like it. I also have mild post-traumatic stress disorder, not like a wartime soldier or crime victim, but due to childhood trauma. Supplemental magnesium helps me manage darker thoughts and memories. It improves my sleep, controls my migraines, and may be one reason my older, heavier self maintains a healthy blood pressure. Those are the two supplements I cannot do without. Humans cannot eat enough food to ensure we get our daily allowance of all nutrients. Not just because we are no longer hunter-gatherers or farmers, but because the soils our foods are grown in are depleted. Our foods have been hybridized and altered for maximum yield, not maximum nutrition. So unless your garden has a 5th-generation, unaltered potato crop or heirloom tomatoes growing on the vine, we need to supplement. There is abundant information in medical journals that can explain what vitamin or mineral deficiencies cause and how best to treat them. Take your supplements before they run out. Story 24. I started taking daily turmeric supplements, and my arthritis inflammation symptoms have improved by approximately 95%. My joints clearly show a difference when I go a couple of days without taking the supplement. It is a complete game changer for me. Story 25. My restless legs syndrome improves significantly when I take daily iron supplements. It helps me get more than 6 hours of sleep instead of 3 to 5, with usually 0 to 1 wake up during the night instead of 2 to 3. Story 26. The key is supplements, not vitamins. Get your blood work done. Find out what you are deficient in and only supplement that. The difference can be night and day. I would echo the magnesium supplementation that many are suggesting here. It was a game changer for better sleep for me. Story 27. Vitamin D made me human again. I was always tired and could sleep all day and all night. I started with 7,000 units daily, and after a few days I began to feel better. After 4 weeks, I was no longer a zombie. Now I take 7,000 units weekly and still feel good. Story 28. I used to get sick frequently, catching a cold every month. Then I started taking multivitamins with vitamin C and zinc. I have not been sick in the last 6 months, and I feel much more energized. Story 29. I never notice anything. It always feels like a scam, but when I go to get my blood work done, sure enough, whatever I was deficient in before, I am not anymore after 3 to 4 months of that specific vitamin. So I guess it works. Story 30. I have diabetic retinopathy, and I am taking lutein eye complex with bilberry. It has been 6 months, and my eyes have been stable. Doctors say supplements probably do not have an effect, but I am not taking any chances with my eyesight. If it helps even a little, I will continue taking it. Story 31. I asked about magnesium glycinate at a recent physical after noticing my irritable bowel syndrome with constipation was better if I had tuna. I wondered about the correlation. The doctor shrugged and said to go for it. I cannot, for the life of me, take it at night like most people. I am part of the small group that gets insomnia from it. However, I have distinctly noticed that I am more regular now. I am sleeping better, and my recurrent obsessive-compulsive disorder thoughts are slightly easier to push into the background than before. I have taken gummy multivitamins in the past but did not honestly notice a difference. I am curious about some of the other magnesium forms, but last I checked, magnesium threonate is pricier and magnesium citrate is not meant for long-term use, unfortunately. Does anyone take anything for Hashimoto's thyroiditis and have any luck? My levels are normal, so I am stuck in limbo. I am going to find a new endocrinologist soon. Story 32. Probiotics are a big help for women to keep the intimate area fresh and free from unpleasant odors throughout the day. Story 33. It might be my mind playing tricks on me, but I am noticeably different in the winter when I take vitamin D compared to when I do not. My wife urges me to take it. I also recall that my wife's hair was never as full and beautiful as when she was on prenatal vitamins. The science does not support this, but it is what we observed. Story 34. I have noticed better energy, mood, and clarity when taking proper dosages of high-quality multivitamins, such as AOR OrthoCore. One-a-day tablets from the supermarket are worthless. Expensive capsules that require taking 6 per day do make a difference. However, that became too expensive and my diet became less restrictive, so I had less need for supplementation. One negative effect I experienced in the past year was getting too much vitamin B6 from a few supplements I was taking, causing peripheral neuropathy with tingling and numbness in my hands and arms. This was mostly caused by magnesium supplements containing 50 milligrams per dose because adding B6 helps magnesium absorption. But you only need about 2 milligrams of B6 per day. Once you start looking, you'll see approximately 5 milligrams of B6 in almost everything for no reason. Story 35. Lemonade-colored urine. I think multivitamins help with leg cramping. I have also been more active, so that might help too. Story 36. When I met my husband, he had numbness in his hands and feet. He literally wore shoes all the time to protect his feet because he could not feel them. He was also very pale, but I thought that was his skin tone. I gave him a multivitamin and magnesium. Within a few months, his skin tone looked healthier, and he started regaining feeling. He had complete feeling back after about 1.5 years. He was malnourished due to a diet of mostly canned food, and the vegetables and fruit he ate were like 1 cucumber or apple a day. Story 37. Got my hormones tested recently, 31-year-old male. My vitamin D3 was basically non-existent. I've been taking supplements, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D3, and ashwagandha. After a month, I have felt a noticeable difference. For me, these supplements are for hormone support. I've gotten better sleep, less brain fog, better circulation, and everything else seems to be working better than before the supplements. Just give them some time to work. I didn't necessarily feel different until after a month of being consistent with them. Story 38. If I forget to take my vitamin D, I definitely feel much more tired. Once, I took it at night instead of in the morning, and I woke up in the middle of the night feeling very restless. Story 39. N-acetylcysteine. I added it to my regimen in January, and it has made a bigger difference than I expected in several areas. It helps my mood. I have completely stopped taking Benadryl, which I was using excessively and experiencing side effects from. I no longer wake up congested or with phlegm. I have significantly fewer histamine reactions, almost none. I am not itchy all the time or rubbing my eyes raw. Stopping Benadryl and adding N-acetylcysteine has greatly reduced my mental fog, which was worsened by attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and perimenopause. The biggest and most surprising change for me has been improved skin elasticity, as I suffer from an autoimmune condition called lichen sclerosis. I recommend researching the benefits of N-acetylcysteine. It has been used for decades to treat various conditions. I was amazed when I read about its effects on skin health after noticing improvements in my private area after taking it for a couple of months. I had already significantly adjusted my diet, cutting out most carbohydrates, sugars, alcohol, caffeine, and processed foods over a year ago. Those changes helped somewhat with my issues, but nothing was as impactful as adding N-acetylcysteine. Be sure to research safe dosages and consult your primary care provider regarding its safety. It can be unsafe to take with certain medications, such as blood thinners. My husband had to stop taking it for 2 years while recovering from life-threatening health issues because he was prescribed Eliquis to reduce his risk of stroke after severe heart failure and other complications. Do not start taking N-acetylcysteine without proper medical guidance. Story 40. I was working as an extra on a film back in March and got exploded. The scene was a medieval alien castle invasion, and a pyrotechnic explosion was timed wrong. I suffered second-degree flash burns on about 20% of my body. I had to undergo 3 rounds of surgical debridement and was told I faced serious permanent scarring. I took a high dose of every skin-focused vitamin and supplement I could. I only ate or drank things with some kind of functional benefit. Vitamin C, E, A, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, biotin, collagen types 1 and 3, and hyaluronic acid. I blended stacks of green vegetables into smoothies, then added greens powder and red vegetable powder. When it became too thick to drink, I thinned it out with green tea for antioxidants, just enough to swallow. Bone broth that was pure jelly at room temperature, oily fish, and royal jelly. I also applied liberal topical applications of vitamin E oil and Cicaplast with vitamin B5. I am not someone who has ever healed particularly quickly and usually have some cuts or bruises. My burns were completely healed within 3 weeks. People I saw a month after the accident literally could not tell I had been in the burn unit less than 3 weeks before. They had to see pictures to understand the massive difference and how bad my condition had been. I feel like a walking advertisement for properly applied supplementation. Story 41. The kids' chewable vitamins with extra iron have done me a world of good. Once or twice a year, I start feeling slow for a couple of weeks, tired, lethargic, faint. Eventually, I remember, oh right, I probably need more iron. I go to the store and get the children's vitamins I'm nostalgic for from my childhood, and I end up feeling much better. Now I just have to remember not to stop taking them, or at least remember to take them sooner. Story 42. Actually, yes. When I am on top of things, I take vitamin B12, vitamin D, fish oil, cranberry, magnesium, multivitamin, fiber gummy, probiotic, and turmeric. I took these religiously for months and felt fine. I was regular in the bathroom, not very tired during the day. Then I moved where I kept the vitamins in an attempt to declutter. I stopped taking them, and a month later, I got a urinary tract infection, had stiff joints, was not sleeping as well, struggled to stay awake by 4 p.m., and got constipated. Story 43. My doctor said something along the lines of, wow, all the levels for vitamins and minerals in your last set of labs are really good. You must be taking vitamins because your cholesterol levels suggest that pizza is still your primary food group. Story 44. Yes. In college, I could afford ramen noodles and not much else. I started developing lockjaw that persisted for a couple of weeks. My girlfriend suggested I had a vitamin deficiency, so I invested in some multivitamins and the lockjaw cleared up within a day. I later improved my diet, but not by much. Story 45. Absolutely. Vitamins B and D resolved neurological problems and depression. Omega-3 improved memory. These effects were highly noticeable and sustained. Story 46. Noticed? No, but a blood test shows my vitamin D increased significantly when I started taking supplements. I forgot how that is supposed to improve my life, but whatever it is must be happening. Story 47. 95% of people do not get enough dietary fiber. There are many health benefits to fiber, so everyone should increase their intake. Story 48. Vitamin D makes a huge difference in the winter for my seasonal depression. Digestive enzymes from the Pure Essentials brand and probiotics from the Seed brand both help my digestion significantly. The Calm Magnesium drink helps me fall asleep at night, but be careful with the amount you take as it can cause frequent bowel movements. Story 49. Yes, I used to donate blood, and the staff at the American Red Cross recommended that I take slow-release iron to correct my anemia. It worked really well. Story 50. I was experiencing finger numbness. My child's pediatrician checked on me during our child's well-child visit, as I was her oldest first-time parent. We adopted when we were 47 years old. The pediatrician recommended trying magnesium supplements in case the numbness was due to a magnesium deficiency rather than a pinched nerve, which I had suspected. I started taking magnesium supplements with our next grocery order. The numbness disappeared within weeks and has not returned. I take a couple of magnesium supplements per week. Story 51. Zinc increases testosterone. It can make you feel like a teenager again, with oily skin and increased libido. This effect is likely a return to normal levels if you were previously zinc deficient. Story 52. Not an answer to the question specifically asked, but something worth mentioning. Insurance guidelines, minimum medical recommendations, and ideal levels can be three substantially different amounts. Some information is based solely on male research, some is broad to cover ages 25 to 75, etc. Finding a doctor who genuinely cares and wants to investigate is worthwhile, compared to a doctor who never looks up from paperwork, just wants you in and out, and only ensures you're within allowable margins. It took several doctor changes and a couple of years to finally get them to check my testosterone levels. Most would say, "Your only age, it shouldn't be an issue," or "Insurance won't cover that until you're much older," or something similar. I finally found a doctor who listened to me and spent time discussing things. She ran the blood tests at my request and agreed they were worthwhile given my self-described concerns. I paid out of pocket for the testing, which was fine. My results came back low, very low, but still above the minimum threshold for acceptable range. The doctor explained that the low threshold is where healthy men naturally are in their mid-70s, not late 30s, and that ranges can be a catch-all for insurance companies to decline coverage. Now I pay out of pocket for testosterone replacement therapy, but my levels are back where they should be, and I feel much better than before. She also has me on a supplement routine that includes vitamin D. One of her points was that most people are vitamin D deficient, even if they think they aren't or if they barely reach the acceptable range, which is not really ideal. It may be overboard, but we have done large blood panel work several times since I started with her about 18 months ago, so we can check and monitor levels of things most doctors would not check unless the pre-planned path required it. Prevention and anticipation of issues versus waiting for a failure or breakdown to take action. Well worth the money for me. Story 53. Something I have learned recently is that a lot of what I attributed to my own laziness and fatigue was actually due to a vitamin deficiency. I was having frequent migraines of both the painful and silent aura types, along with occasional vertigo that made me resistant to moving around or doing anything involving physical movement. The doctor examined me and prescribed some high-quality vitamin B12 along with other multivitamins, including vitamin D. I am not sure if it's a placebo effect, but I generally feel a lot better and more stable. My energy levels are up, I can do more and move around more, and my irritability has decreased. Also, my glasses had a weaker prescription, which I have now updated. Many of my daily problems have largely resolved just by spending one evening on doctor visits and taking daily supplements. I used to think I was weak and lazy because I had gained weight. It turns out there is hope. The processed food we commonly consume today lacks sufficient nutrients. We have to balance it out. This helped me. Hopefully, it helps you too. Story 54. What type of blood test do you request from your general practitioner to get a conclusive overview of vitamin and mineral deficiencies in the body? Is there an actual term for the test? Story 55. Magnesium and vitamin B12. I was not expecting to notice a difference. However, after a few weeks, I had more energy and overall felt better. People mention vivid dreams with magnesium, but I dream a lot anyway, so I am unsure if this made it worse. Story 56. I started taking omega-3 supplements. I have a seafood allergy, and any fish I can eat I do not really enjoy. Plus, my husband does not eat fish, so I am lacking a big source of omega-3. I notice my mood has improved, and I am finding it easier to lose weight by changing my diet and exercising, whereas before my body struggled with weight loss. I am guessing it has done something for my metabolism. Who knows? But I am sticking with it. Story 57. I have eczema and take collagen. Whenever I feel the itch, I take collagen, and my skin has improved significantly. I do recommend it. I am currently having 1 sachet a week, but as I get older, I will be adding more. Story 58. Vitamin B12 and iron restored my brain function. To be fair, the iron eventually became prescription when my doctor saw my iron saturation was only 8%. Story 59. My mom swears by taking large doses of turmeric for her brain function and memory. She takes enough to risk liver damage. Her liver is healthy, but this is a reminder that if you are going to take vitamins at doses higher than recommended, you need to check with your doctor. Story 60. Fermented cod liver oil, the liquid kind, is repulsive at first, but you get used to it quickly. It took my arthritic pain away in 3 days. Story 61. My urine is always bright yellow after taking my multivitamin. That is the only difference I have noticed. Story 62. Vitamin D 10,000 international units daily. Omega-3 with vitamin K2. 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. Trimethylglycine. Zinc. Magnesium. I have absolutely noticed a difference. Now in my 3rd year. Vitamin D made the biggest impact. I used to take an over-the-counter multivitamin, which was a waste. Do your research and buy vitamins from reputable companies. Story 63. I thought I was going blind because my eyes were hurting and my vision was deteriorating so rapidly. It turned out I had dry eyes as a side effect of my medication. I had no idea it could get that bad. I started taking fish oil, and I find that I rarely need eye drops anymore. Story 64. Never noticed a difference taking pills or tablets with chronically low vitamin D. Finally started using gel capsules or gummies instead of tablets and have had results. Story 65. Iodine. I was struggling with depression, then read an article about salt that mentioned virtually no food manufacturers in the United States use iodized salt anymore. Since manufactured food was where I thought I was getting my iodine from, I looked into where people get iodine. It turns out that since everyone has switched to using sea salt, most people get their iodine from dairy products. However, there is no iodine in organic dairy and minimal amounts in grass-fed dairy. The amount in regular dairy is variable because some cows are grass-fed some of the time. There is also iodine in beef, but not in grass-fed beef. Iodine is added to animal feed to prevent spoilage and to the disinfection solution for milking equipment. Within a week of taking an iodine supplement, my depression almost completely disappeared. Story 66. Peace of mind at least. I would call it placebo, but I know that if I took too much vitamin D, I would get destroyed. I just take it anyway and hope for the best. Story 67. I have bipolar disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism, so needless to say, I experience a lot of mood swings. I have been taking potassium for about a year now to maintain electrolyte balance. I completely ran out for the first time last week, usually stocking up ahead of time. I figured I could wait a week until payday to buy more. My moods have been terrible. I was curious, so I looked up whether potassium affects moods, and not only does it, but potassium levels are a key part of controlling bipolar disorder. I have suffered from this illness for 25 years, and no one mentioned that to me. Story 68. I take a multivitamin every day plus a couple of additional supplements to fill in gaps. Magnesium, iron, a vitamin A, K, and D blend, and a partial serving of a high-calorie protein shake. I cannot eat a lot, so it helps me sneak in extra calories with protein. I feel great compared to how I used to. I have also lost a lot of weight and built some muscle. However, I have made major changes to my diet, so it is hard to tell what difference the vitamins make. Regardless, these are things I know I need, so I continue, especially since it all seems to be working. At least all my blood work has come back looking fantastic lately. Story 69. The first time I took a vitamin B complex capsule, I felt as if I had consumed 10 cups of coffee for several days. I probably had a vitamin B1 or vitamin B12 deficiency. After that, the new normal started to feel normal. I am now able to do more things in a day as a lasting effect. Story 70. Only magnesium for my restless leg syndrome. I felt no difference after taking iron, vitamin D, zinc, and several other supplements, so I stopped taking them. Story 71. I take a hair, skin, and nail gummy supplement regularly, and it makes my hair very shiny and healthy and my skin glow. I also take a multivitamin daily but have not noticed any major changes from it. Story 72. I do not remember the study, but I recall the only vitamins that lead to statistically significant health outcomes, such as longer life, are omega-3 oil, vitamin B12, and vitamin D. However, these alone did not have an effect but had to be taken together. This should not be confused with taking vitamins to address a deficiency in your diet. It only applies to people who already have a well-balanced diet and exercise regularly. Story 73. The joint supplement, glucosamine and chondroitin. I am only 34, but I really damaged my body in my teens doing gymnastics. I noticed a difference in my dog when I started giving those to her, so I decided to try them myself. I am surprised by how much less I hurt. Story 74. I think this question is a little backwards. If you have a severe deficiency in some micronutrient, daily vitamins may make a noticeable difference. But for most people, multivitamins are a preventive measure, meant to keep you from developing a nutrition-based illness. One does not notice oneself not getting sick, so it is easy to think the vitamins are not doing anything. But they are supplying your body with the required minimum amount of micronutrients, thus preventing deficiencies and maintaining your existing health. Story 75. My nails used to peel and break. I am a lifetime nail biter. They are so healthy after taking Mary Ruth's liquid vitamin. I bought a 2-pack at Sam's. My family opted out because of the taste. I decided I would finish it. By the end of the first bottle, my nails were amazing. Story 76. I have not noticed a difference with regular store-brand vitamins, but I have noticed a difference when switching to high-quality vitamins. For instance, adding liquid vitamin D ended my year of anxiety within a day. Story 77. Magnesium and vitamin D3 are especially important for women over 40 or anyone living in a gloomy climate. I recently tested low for iron, and it was a game changer. My hair was brittle and falling out, which turned out to be linked to the deficiency. Vitamin B12 is another key nutrient, especially if you do not eat much meat. Story 78. For those who suffer from allergies during allergy season, take a good dose of vitamin D daily. I discovered that the more I stayed indoors during allergy season, the worse my symptoms became. When I stepped out into the sun, I still felt miserable, but in a different way. So, I started taking vitamin D daily, and my allergy symptoms lessened significantly. Story 79. I was vitamin D deficient for a while and did not know. I was experiencing intense muscle aches, joint pain, and extreme fatigue. I felt terrible all the time and could not do anything without feeling like I needed to sleep afterwards. The normal range is 30 to 100 nanograms per milliliter, and when I was finally tested, I was at 7 nanograms per milliliter. I am now back in the normal range at 33 nanograms per milliliter and feel much better. I no longer have intense muscle aches and can stay awake all day. Story 80. I have restless legs, and iron is supposed to help reduce the discomfort. Being vegetarian, I don't get a lot of iron naturally, so taking iron supplements has helped a lot. Story 81. If you are deficient in something like iron, magnesium, or zinc, it can make a significant difference. However, most people add a lot of unnecessary supplements instead of getting a blood test and adjusting their diet. This is especially true for athletes who might deplete stores more rapidly than others. That said, in most cases, a multivitamin is harmless even if you do not need it. Most of those vitamins are water-soluble and are excreted as slightly darker urine. Story 82. Turmeric fixed my carpal tunnel. I take some other supplements, but I have no idea if they do anything. However, I will not be without turmeric. Ever. Story 83. I am diabetic and take vitamin D and vitamin B12 because diabetes and the medications tend to deplete those. I am definitely feeling better. Story 84. My wife and I were having trouble conceiving our first baby. We thought we would need to do in vitro fertilization, so we consulted the doctor. He said her vitamin D levels were low and recommended a supplement before doing in vitro fertilization. We conceived naturally within a month. The doctor saved us about $20,000 with that advice. Story 85. Taking daily magnesium and vitamin B2 decreased my migraine frequency from once a week to once every 6 months. I still have no idea how it works, but I am very grateful all the same. Story 86. I, a woman, started to have a receding hairline at my temples. I went to the dermatologist and she told me to start minoxidil. However, it's expensive and requires regular application twice a day, every day, indefinitely. It wasn't realistic, so she recommended that I start taking pumpkin seed oil, as there was a promising study. If that didn't work, I would have to use minoxidil. It's been 6 months, and I have hair in those spots. It's short since it just started regrowing, but it looks fuller. Story 87. I was developing numb patches on my body and had tingling in my hands and feet. After magnetic resonance imaging and some blood work, multiple sclerosis was ruled out, thankfully. It was discovered I had a severe stage 3 vitamin B12 deficiency. The doctor asked if I was vegan. I was not. I had to take injections twice a week for 6 weeks. I forget the dosage, but it was high. My numbness mostly went away. I still have a patch on my thigh where sensation is dulled. Story 88. I'm 70 and had rather severe joint pain in hips, knees, and shoulders. I started taking magnesium citrate. Now I take citrate and glycinate, zinc, selenium, and potassium. They work synergistically. I also take B-complex, vitamin D, vitamin C, and niacinamide. I also take collagen. Not sure if all the above are necessary, but I am 90% better. Story 89. My doctor once told me that multivitamins give you very expensive urine. I am supposed to take a vitamin D supplement because I live in a very cloudy city. Story 90. Vitamins never made a noticeable difference, but the impact of magnesium supplements was very noticeable. Less tired, more energy, better quality of sleep. Story 91. Nutrafol has changed my entire hairline. It is expensive and you have to be consistent, but its results are undeniable for me. Story 92. My hormonal acne significantly improved when I started taking a multivitamin daily. It does not fully make sense, but I am not going to experiment with it. Story 93. There are very few shipments of vitamins that work or are needed by the average person. Multivitamins are nearly useless for the majority of people. You excrete 99% of them. Maybe a few, like iron for deficient people, magnesium glycinate, and vitamin D for deficiency are beneficial. Story 94. I have not noticed a change, but friends who have not seen me in a while say I look really good and healthy. Story 95. I was taking vitamin B12 gummies for energy. I did not really notice a change in energy, but my face started to break out. My doctor, who did not suggest the gummies, said it could have been a dye in the gummies. Story 96. Iron. My levels were always normal for everything, but once I started taking iron, my hair growth has been incredible. It is much denser and grows quickly. I do not know how to take magnesium. One type makes me nauseous, and the other makes me tired all day. I tried vitamin D and vitamin B12. I have not really noticed a difference with those, but I am still taking vitamin D. Story 97. Vitamin D in the winter and magnesium at night are the only noticeable changes I have seen. I think fish oil helps me too, but it is less obvious. Story 98. Magnesium. I had an eye twitch twice a day for about 6 months that would come and go. This post reminded me that my eye has not twitched for a few months now. Story 99. I started taking omega-3 fatty acids because I don't really eat any seafood. My cholesterol numbers dropped, and my high-density lipoprotein went up. I am also more active than I was when I had my last blood work, but I still think the omega-3 fatty acids helped. Most people probably do not get enough unless they eat fatty fish 2 to 3 times per week. If anyone is interested in buying them, a good quality supplement should have the amount of eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid in it. The ideal ratio is 1.2 to 1.5 to 1 of eicosapentaenoic acid to docosahexaenoic acid. Story 100. Like many people, I stay indoors frequently. I also do not tend to eat breakfast cereal or drink milk, so it turns out I was very low in vitamin D. Therefore, I started taking multivitamin gummies. Now, I do not experience muscle cramps or acne in my 40s. Story 101. Fish oil supplements seem to help cognitive brain function, including memory, recall, and creativity. It may be a placebo effect, but I will take it. Story 102. Vitamin D makes a huge difference. I can tell if I do not take it for a few weeks. B vitamins are important as well. Story 103. I have reduced my blood pressure by nearly 10 points and maintained it by taking magnesium and potassium. I still monitor my salt intake, but those two supplements had measurable results. Story 104. Magnesium, vitamin D3, vitamin E, vitamin C, and methylated vitamin B12 are absolute must-haves. I highly recommend a vitamin B complex as well. Story 105. With magnesium, watch out that it does not contain more than 5 milligrams of vitamin B6. It is often combined in supplements, and many overdose you on vitamin B6, which can cause nerve damage. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.